G'day, Mr. Fitz here. Hope you guys are going well. This video is part 3 of our series of our mould. So now you've completed the second part of our design. So this is what we call the gate plate. We're going to move on now to the profile plate. This is the red one here on our drawings. Now, if I go to the technical drawing for this, this is exactly the same as part 1 or part 2 in its overall size, except here you're going to model a profile of your particular part you're going to mold. Please also note that the thickness of this is 3 millimeters. It's a little bit thinner. So using the same concept as earlier, what we can do with our CAD model is do a save as. This is a quick way to duplicate our work. So we can use either the second part, which is the gate plate, or the first part, doesn't really matter. And I'm going to go File, Save As. Give this a new name. Call this the profile plate, however you want to call that one there. And we'll dump that one out into the appropriate folder. Now, what we can do with this part, because we don't want to have this particular profile in here, we can actually delete that. So a quick way to do that is to literally click on the Cut Extrude To, and pressing delete on your keyboard, it'll come up with this particular warning. This just says, do you want to also delete the chamfer and the fillet? Which is yes, I want to delete those other features. Go yes, and it gets rid of them. You'll see here that the sketch still remains of that extrude. I can just press delete on that. Yes again, and goodbye. Alright, so with your profile plate here, you're basically free to model up and design your product. Taking note that this here is going to be the profile shape. So you're free to go off and search for different design ideas. For your assignment, you're going to have to come up with some sketches first, some hand sketches, generate some ideas, and then you're going to model this in here. Just remember too that this is a thinner piece. So if I double click on this body here, it should pop up with the dimensions of my Boss Extrude 1. You can double click on the 6 and turn that to a 3, press enter, and that should update. If it doesn't update, you can always click on this little update or rebuild icon. Another way to do that is using your right mouse button on your mouse, right click the Boss Extrude and go edit feature. The sketch will take you into the sketch. We just want to change the depth of the extrude to 3 mil and go OK. Quick way to edit it. Okay, so as far as your profile, for mine, I'm going to cut a oblong shape into it, what I've decided to do. So as always, start with a sketch on the top face. So choose your sketch face. You should see that little thing pop up there. That shows us the middle of our sketch. Now here, you're going to need to think about how you're going to build your profile. So it's good at this stage to think about different sketch tools you can use to build your design. So in here, you've got a whole range of options and a few other tools here which we can use to our advantage. A few cool things to use here is a spline tool. If you're doing curved shapes and complex shapes, a spline allows you to click a series of points and build a spline. There you go, this one looks like a bit like a map of Australia. Remember that you need to close the loop in order to do something with it. Just press escape to get out of the tool itself, and you'll find that all of these points on your spline can be moved. You can change the radius and the tangencies, it's called. So you can move that around as you wish. That's a pretty cool tool. If I just go back and undo that, now what I can do, is also using things like the line tool and the arc tools, you can create a series of different lines. If for any reason you've got some lines that overlap like this, a really cool tool to use is the Trim Entities tool. And here, if you click this one, the way this works under Power Trim is if you click and hold on the screen and drag your mouse, you see it draws a little line. Now wherever this line crosses, it's going to trim that back to its next intersection. So bang, back to that intersection, bang, back to there. If you just go over a straight line, it should just delete it. There we go. Undo that if that's not what you want to do. But that's how the trim entity works. Nice little tool there to trim up your shape. What else have we got? Offset entities is pretty useful sometimes if you want to grab a line and do an offset. See if I click that line there. If I untick select chain, the chain just means it grabs everything that that line joins to, and then you can put in an offset distance, and that's going to create a duplicate of that. I'm just going to go unselect chain and go 5, and you can see if I go add dimension and click on the tick, it puts in a dimension there. So that line there is an offset. That's a very useful little sketch tool. What else have we got? Just retrim that. Aside from that, you've got things like ellipses and parabolas and all kinds of arcs. So have a play with that tool. Yeah, just sketch to your heart's content. Try to create what you're after. If you do get stuck with your sketch and it gets too complex, give Mr. Fitz a yell and he'll come over and help you. But what's important to think about when you cut your profile is you need to think about it must be a closed loop. If you've got any holes inside it, they're going to fall out of the mold. So just be mindful of that. Now, I've just come up with a quick idea. I'm going to draw up a little spline. Actually, I'm going to draw the first letter of my name. My last name is Fitz, so I'm just going to do a quick little F. So you might think about if you're doing a keychain, you could do a letter of your name if you wanted to. So I've just drawn a quick bunch there, and then I can join those up at the end. So click on the line and join them there. Cool. Now, a few little important things in the sketch that always are important is putting on dimensions. So you can use dimensions to get the idea of the shape. So 34 millimeters. Have a look at that on a steel rule or a ruler and work out how big it is. But I might bring that up to 35. I might make that one 35 as well. Now, what you can do in a sketch is create what's called some geometric constraints. So what I'd like to do, if I want to make these all even, I might think about this line and this line being the same width or length. So if I click this line to start with, press and hold Control on your keyboard and then pick another line, and you'll see over here a range of different options come up. Now I want these to be equal. Beautiful. I can do that again and click this line and this line, and I can make those equal. Looks a bit better. Still looks a bit thick though, so I'm going to manipulate this, and all of a sudden you see this line and this line should line up. So this isn't doing what I want it to do. So what I can do is choose this line and this line, and I can make these what's called collinear, which means two lines on the same line. There we go, beautiful. So you can see inside my sketch, these little green icons, these are the geometric constraints. You highlight over it, it tells you what it is. If you click on that and press delete on your keyboard, you can remove those constraints if you don't want them. And as you remember from before, we can always resize things with dimensions or just drag it on the screen. So I might change that one to 10, and you'll see that my design changes as so. Cool, I'm going to make this one a little bit bigger. I've changed my mind. I'm going to make that one 40. That looks a bit more even there. Nice. All right. Once you finish your sketch, make sure it is constrained as best as you can, and it's a closed loop. Then we can go features, and we're going to extrude cut this one through our part. So I'm going to go through all, click the tick, and off we go. Excellent. Save this part, and that one's done. Now, the very last one we can do is another save as. We're going to create the top plate. So back to our drawing here, the very top plate, part 4, is a very simple one as well. So File, Save As. This one is going to be called top plate. Done. Now on this one, because this is going to close off our mould, what I can do is put some engraving or some features on this particular part. So I'm going to delete my profile. I don't want this one, and I don't want the sketch. And what I can do is create a new sketch on here. Now, some little useful feature here is the text icon. So I can engrave some text in my mould. Now, please take note, an important thing of this particular tool is the font. So I might do another fits on here. Now, this little tick here says use document font. Just untick that and click font, and this will allow you to change different font styles. So you've got all the Microsoft suite of fonts, and you can change the height to make it bigger. Now you see it builds this from there. Wherever I move my mouse and click, it's going to move that text. Take note that because this is going to be a mold, you actually need to invert your text. So click on that one to change the direction of it. So it's backwards. Cool. Place this where you want to place it. Make sure that's the right size and click OK. Another thing you can do in here as well is use a line. So if I sketch a line to start with, I can then, with the text, click on the line to write my name. This is a useful way that you can then move and shape the line. Cool. With that done, I can now extrude. Now with this one, I'm actually going to extrude cut. Now you need to think about which way you want this to go, whether you're going to go into the part or out of the part. And that's going to change whether it's an indent in your mold or a boss coming out of it. So I'm going to cut mine in, and I'm going to make it 0.5. Click on the tick. Done. There we go. That top part's finished. I'm going to press save, and that is done. Well done. On to my next video to finish off our part.